and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Let's talk about NBC again.
Okay, what's going on?
Okay, so don't worry. I promise you guys, this is not Morning Joe this time. This is just people that work with him. They're also paid a larger amount of money. So, well, you know how we were just talking about how it's like, hey, we don't have a lot of progressives that are in Congress right now that are really doing anything. They're just like, we'll go along with whatever's going on. Well, we have a new batch of people that want to run for Congress, and they are thinking of who to challenge. And I have a real issue with how this was covered. Let's take a look at the first video.
A clear idea of the 2022 primary calendar, progressives outside of Congress are feeling more emboldened to launch these primary challenges against sitting Democratic leaders and Democratic incumbents, including the latest Congressman and Democratic House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, who, as you know well, Casey, soared to re-election last cycle with over 60% of the vote, faced a number of primary challengers and came out relatively unscathed. But when I talk to progressive candidates and organizers, especially those who are lining up against him, they're saying, look, we're looking at the country's racial demographics changing. We're looking at the fact that we're in a post-Me Too era, a post-George Floyd era. And we feel that because the political landscape is changing in this way, it's changing such that it will reward diversity and diverse candidates who ultimately crop up and they hope become successful. You know, the two folks who have already lined up to challenge Leader Hoyer are both Black, both openly campaign on these kind of race and gender dynamics that I just laid out, and are both open progressives who are saying, look, we need to get a number of things done. Even though Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House, they're still not happy that enough is being done.
And in terms of Hoyer specifically, I mean, he's obviously a longtime leader. He's the number 2 House Democrat. He's someone that has been well respected, frankly, on both sides of the aisle, has a reputation for perhaps working with moderate Democrats. Is that what has made him a target here? I mean, there are those issues, and then there are also, of course, some members who simply tend to not look at their own backyard and who aren't running the kind of campaigns that they need to stay competitive. But Hoyer's situation is a little different, it seems to me.
It is different. And when I talk to Hoyer's folks, they're quick to point out the fact that he not only has a number of relationships with progressives and even folks in the so-called squad in Congress, but that he's working to bring these progressive bills to the House floor in order to pass them into law. He's working, they say, on the things that these progressives are clamoring for. But at the same time, Casey, the thing that I've heard from activists, candidates, and organizers is just this idea that time is up, they will say, for these older white male leaders. And it's not just about so-called identity politics or gender and race, though that is a big part of it. But it's this sense of urgency that these Black folks and organizers turned candidates feel and bring to the work that they're doing, that they feel isn't.
Okay, so this is a bunch of word salad. I'm going to get to exactly why once we see the second video. I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste of what it is right now. They really do not like seeing this, especially when you look at these candidates' websites, which we'll show in a minute. What they are trying to do is take progressives who are, generally speaking, fighting for economic issues. Like, we know this is the bread and butter of being a progressive running for something, is you're trying to get health care. Some people may say they're trying, but you get what I'm saying. You're trying to get minimum wage increases. You're trying to get unionization to happen there. That's what progressives' policies are: infrastructure improvements, things of that like. And how is it always communicated on media? It's all identity politics based, and that's exactly what we're seeing in these videos. It's not, hey, we have someone who is African American who's lived the life and sees the ravaged, destroyed economies around them and is trying to get people back on their feet. It's no. It's super simple. We don't have to go that deep. It's just, I'm Black, he's white, go attack him. So, I mean, it really does come off as like you're trying to make these guys overly simplified and a little bigoted. If it's just, I'm running because I don't like the old white guy. No, you're running because the old white guy has really horrendous policies and he's out of touch. Anyway, let's see that second video.
Democratic leaders, Hoyer included. So it's this mentality of, okay, we want Democrats in Congress who are going to fight for these same things with the urgency of an activist, not in the same way that a sitting member of Congress would.
Really a shift in what it means to govern in some ways. And Alexi, you are reporting that there is this additional focus for Democrats on race and gender in the party in terms of what candidates they're putting forward. I know you were just sort of saying it's not only about that, but that still is a critical piece of this, no?
It's a critical piece, especially as we look at recent victories for Democrats that are pointed out to me by many progressives, like Congresswoman Cori Bush, Congressman Jamal Bowman, both folks of color who had long shot campaigns, ultimately became successful, of course, for different reasons other than their race and gender. But they're looking at this political landscape changing and seeing that these candidates are getting a renewed look from outside organizations who previously might not have thought they were viable candidates because of fundraising standards or polling or name ID, but are saying that the way they're campaigning is giving them a renewed look and a more serious look. And that's happening in the Virginia governor's race. Northam, of course, is term limited, but a black woman who's openly campaigning on her experiences of being a black mother is eyeing his seat. That's even happening when I talk to progressives who are quietly eyeing AG Letitia James in New York, who, of course, is a black woman who, they want to see primary challenge Governor Andrew Cuomo. And that's a whole other story. And then, as you know well, Casey, there's constant talk about whether Senator Chuck Schumer could face a primary challenger to his left, but especially a young woman of color.
All right, Alexi McCammon, thank you very much.
So again, this is the point that it's like they're misrepresenting what these people are actually standing for in the proportions in which they do that. Really quick, before I really get my breakdown, I want to pull up a link from one of those people running. So we pull that up right now. I wanted to read a quote from the front page of this person's website that we're seeing right now. Is their start of their, if we scroll down, you can actually read it yourselves a little bit lower. If you read, is this person's intro bio like, I'm a black woman and I don't like other people? Because again, it's like, whether we like it or not, the white is still majority. You can't win an election by saying an entire race is bad. Well, I guess it depends on which race. Anyway, they're getting off track. But I wanted to read her actual bio because I think it's important that we not just take people that are running that are of any minority group and say that's what defines them. Because that's what America's done since forever, is saying your race defines you, your gender defines you. It's what you do that defines you. So my name is Michaela, and I'm running to represent Maryland's 5th Congressional District. We deserve a representative who will fight for environmental, economic, and racial justice. Ever since I was incarcerated as a child for missing class while dealing with grief, I have been fighting for change. In 2020, I ran a grassroots primary campaign against Steny Hoyer and received more votes than any challenger in his 40-year tenure, even beating him in the in-person vote. Since then, I co-founded the advocacy nonprofit Schools Not Jails to ensure no one experiences school-to-prison pipeline like I did. Now I'm running for Congress again because it's time for some damn change. Now, you notice that there obviously is specific talk with racial language, but it's about the economics, because that's what when progressives run with economics, they win. That's how it always works. That's why they're trying to say it's not. That's why they're going, oh, those economic things, oh, in the background. Don't look over there. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Look at the race right now. Because they know that Democrats know from experience, lots of experience, that if you just split people up and make it think, oh, that person's black, that person's white, you vote that way, you're tearing people apart. It's the divide and conquer strategy that has gone on in America for so long. And by saying that they're doing it through identity politics, they're misrepresenting the people who are actually running, who are actually. She's talking like, I don't know. I would call the school to prison pipeline an economic issue that also ties in. It does both, but it's not one. And I do not like it when they just pretend that it's like, oh yeah, we're just like, it's these people have a rich history of why they wanted to run for this position. And it's mainly based around the economic angles, because you can't legislate race. You can legislate economics. You can separate people very easily on racial issues. You can bring people together on economic issues. That's why when they cover these people, they do it through not the economic lens.
Agreed. There's something that's really right now weighing on my mind. I want to ask the audience this. I asked this in the live stream chat, but I'll ask it even on the show as well. Seeing as how we're getting close to the midterm election cycle for 2022, and seeing as how that the progressives, as we covered in our first segment, was Cenk begging Kamala to cop Harris to save us, and now that we're in that video that he just released as well, saying that, oh well, the progressives aren't going to fight for it. Are you? Will audience members? You could type. You don't have to type 1 or anything else. Just you can participate if you choose or not to. But will you participate in the 2022 midterm election cycle? Will you vote? And if you do vote, would you vote for a third party individual, or would you participate with the voting either Democrat or Republican? I'm very curious to see people's mindsets because, again, on the one hand, I'm just tired of voting for a progressive that's in the Democratic Party and then they forget like that, because AOC and the squad, they just forgot. We needed them for forced to vote for Medicare for all. We need them for forced to vote for 15, and they're nowhere to be seen except giving statements on Twitter. The kids are still in cages. Okay, the kids are still in cages. We're bombing other countries. The stimulus, the $2,000 stimulus check, we're still waiting on that. $15 minimum wage is going to be in 2025 if we're lucky. And it looks like that's not going to happen at all, period. Corporations are getting bailed out. Corporations constantly have the final say. Climate change is still an ongoing threat. Where are our progressives? So for the progressives that are running, I'm glad that they're running on policy, but what again annoys me too is that corporate media is presenting it as identity politics.
Yes, exactly.
And the one thing that's going to hinder the progressive movement, and dare I say it, even progressive Democrats, is running on identity politics, because we saw Jeremy Corbyn when he was trying to run for the office of prime ministership in Great Britain, they ran on identity politics.
Identity politics loses. That's
you will lose on identity politics. And I understand for a lot of people, identity politics is important. But right now, if you look outside, it's not about identity. It's about the economy. It's about people's money. It's about whether or not they have money for roof over their head, provide for their family, or even start a family. Yeah, I mean, you could say, and look, I'm glad to see more people step up, and that's what we need to see. We need to see more people of different backgrounds run for office, but deliver on policy. Deliver on policy, and be careful when you run the Democratic Party, because they're going to tell you fall in line. And fall in line with the party mentality. And we can't have that. We can't risk it anymore.
And I would just clarify one thing that I saw. Identity is an important part of this process. But again, it's the economic side that's the part that really drives things. That's what you can legislate against. So again, whenever we see the news try and cover progressives through identity politics, it's done as a form of sabotage. That's really the message I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.